Okay, number 3, discussion, consideration of action items. A, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of the proposed budget for the 2013-2014 school year. Do I have a motion? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. The meeting is called to order at 6:50. Okay. Oh, we still have to do it even? Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Flores. Mr. Sellier. Ms. Williams. Mr. Lavoyle.
I'm here.
Mrs. Sayder. Mr. Macias.
Present.
Mr. Salinas, myself, and Dr. Mackey.
Present.
Okay, now we can go to item A, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of the proposed budget for 2013-2014 fiscal year. Motion by Mr. Sellier, second by Mr. LaFoyle. Discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Adair.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. Elizondo and Dr. Mackey for all the hard work that they put into this budget and sticking everything in the right categories and the right numbers. I also want to apologize for myself for missing the board meeting where we didn't have a quorum, and the staff being present and not being able to conduct the meeting. And I want to thank you all for all the effort and work that you have put into that, and apologize for not being able to be present. Dr. Mackey, I wanted to ask about a couple of items. I know we had a budget meeting before, but I want to get some clarity. And so if you'll turn with me to the first page under the cover sheet that says final proposed budget, where it lists the expenditures. And I'd like to,
Which page? Which one is it?
the very first, this one.
Oh, page 5.
Yeah, mine didn't have a number, sorry. So I wanted to make sure I had an understanding of everything that we've
Is that
already.
the compensation plan?
Yes.
No, sir, it says summary of budget items.
Oh, okay.
It's on the, looks like that. Good, Dr. Mackey got the paper.
Got it?
It's on.
Yes, we're on page 5 now.
I wanted to get a clear understanding from last week's board meeting and the budget meeting, which things we've already approved. And so the second item, the salary increases for $2,400,000, we've already voted and approved that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
And,
then, go ahead.
Go ahead on that.
If it's probably easier if you just tell me which ones are already approved or which ones are not approved, then I'll mark accordingly. But all I have is that we've approved that salary increase for $2,400,000. We approved the fourth item, allocation of additional salary
Yes.
increase for
That's
teacher
correct.
scale,
That's correct.
$1,500,000.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And the allocation for new staff, $895.
No, we
We
approved that.
didn't.
No,
We didn't
no.
vote on that.
No, just two items.
We
Only
just
two
voted
items.
on those positions.
Just the two items, and we're asking to increase the contributions to the teachers.
We voted on that one, I know. The 500, the 300,
Yes, yes,
the 1,250, we already voted on
to
that, right?
1,500.
Okay. So the two items is the second bullet and the fourth bullet has
Yes.
already been approved.
Okay, the 2,400
No,
we,
the
the 2,400,000 we
Okay.
voted on.
Okay.
And then we asked to allocation of additional salary increase for teachers, because $500,000 for 300 more for teachers to go from 1,200 to 1,500. Yes,
We voted on that?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to, that was page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's 11, where it has the location codes. And some of these I know we discussed, but I'm not sure I remember what the final outcome was. So on the grant writer line, the increase of 3,500, didn't we talk about getting contracting grant writing? That's not a position, but that's for contracting?
Yes.
Okay. And then the CATE program increase at the middle schools
Wait.
on career and technology, code 805.
805, correct.
What we were doing there? Between the 35,000 and the 15,000, you remember? Can
Went
Mr.
from 50
Elizondo
to
answer?
65. From 50 to 65.
805 right here for career and technology, yes.
Do you remember? I don't remember what we were doing there. Can I ask Mr. Elizondo?
Yeah, Mr. O'Donnell.
That $15,000 change, what we do is every year we forecast how many kiddos are going to be
Oh,
in
that's
the
what it
CAPE
is,
program.
increase in student number? Okay.
Yes.
All right, increase students. And then skipping down, I remember on line 703, you told us that the county was increasing the cost for the tax office, but I don't remember on 929 why the maintenance operation insurance increased by 175,000.
We've received word from the insurance companies, especially our property portion, that they told us the market is getting what they call really hard, and which means that the premiums are going to be increasing for property insurance. So they kind of gave us a forewarning. We budget $175,000. Those bids don't come in for a few more weeks. So once that comes in, if it's less, then we'll come back and amend it downward again. But we just wanted to be safe and make sure we had sufficient money in the budget for those premiums for the property insurance.
Probably as a result of the storms.
It could
We're having
very
so
well
many
be.
storms, so many claims.
Could very well be.
Okay, so, but that is actually insurance. Okay. And then the one beneath that, the warehouse, what are we going to do with that 40,500?
We were going to purchase some equipment. One of those machines was so that we could recycle cardboard.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. That was energy conservation. And I was supporting that. Okay. Skipping down to 804, that 39.5.
Was that it?
I remember a portion of that was for the immature.
What number?
I think, was that
I
the
think it was
increase on the Ames program?
I think it's the Ames program.
No, I looked at the Ames program down below further.
What
And
number are you
Click
talking
on
about?
it. Check on
804,
it, Mr. Elizondo.
Right, you're right, that was under a 999.
I see it.
yeah, I
Ames
wrote that
program.
under 999.
Do you mind if Mr. Gonzalez addresses that, Dr. Mackey?
What was that, Mr.?
That increase was because of the Judson Journal, the new
Okay,
Journal.
okay,
We were going out.
That's where that
to-
is,
to
okay.
Increase our volume on that.
right. I just wrote that under the wrong number. So I did note the increase in the monitoring. I want to thank you for doing that. I think that's a great program. And then I know you said something under 825, we were going to do something different in adult ed, that 107,000.
What was that, Mr.? 107,000.
The 107,000 was because of the increase in our payments with our vendors. And we hadn't budgeted enough the previous year. When we have people come in, then as a part of our clubs and organizations, we pay out to those vendors that pay in here. So we have to.
I guess I'm kind of confused. What vendors?
When we offer the community and adult ed classes, we hire folks to come in and teach those classes. And so as we have more folks paying tuition and joining those classes, we have more expenditures to pay because we pay based on a number of participants in the classroom.
So our
And so
participation is up?
It is up.
Has increased.
And also, they also pay for a portion of the journal as well out of that budget. And I think those are the two main items.
Yes.
Okay. Going down to, I had a note to commend Mr. Kirschner in 740, he reduced his budget, and then to ask, but in the 918, were we buying and replacing any major equipment for building and grounds maintenance?
They do have a number of items in it that are capital items. They have some vehicles in there, and they also have some
Okay.
budget that they allocated for chillers and things of that sort.
And we talked about a maintenance schedule and stuff, and so all that, we've got all that, so we'll have a
The
schedule for
maintenance
that.
schedule, definitely, we starting with Hopkins Elementary School and trying to get that air condition, which has been broken from day one when they built it. So we're trying to get that air condition, hired an engineer to work on that. So we're trying to get that going because it was unbearable at the end of school year for kids.
And I want to thank you for the concerted effort with child nutrition, all of the changes in pay and equipment purchases. I'm sure that'll make for a happy cafeteria when we come back to school. And transportation at 922, we didn't do any bus purchases this year, right?
During the current year, no.
And
We
so,
will be,
Coming
in the
during
month
the year.
of December, once we receive the audit report, we'll be asking the board for.
That's when it's
yes.
a year.
so but is that money that we're going to spend, or we're going to do it like we've been doing it with a loan? Or is any money budgeted for the bus
How are we going
purchase?
to do it?
There's no money budgeted currently for that, and that determination will be made at that time, depending on what the interest rates are doing,
Okay.
whether we will determine whether it's better to get a loan to do that, or whether it's better just to take it out of fund balance and pay for them. But we'll evaluate that at that time to see what the interest rates are doing.
Do you remember what that 132,000 is for? In transportation, 922?
Probably a portion of it for the, go ahead. You want to-
Currently, with the system that we have on the buses for cameras, for getting recording, we have to go out and physically get those recordings off. What we're trying to do is upgrade all the buses in the system, so now when a bus drives in to the lot, there's a central antenna, we can collect the data and we'll automatically upload the data from that.
So that's where that,
Yes.
that's where that funding is, okay. So if I take, say, for example, when I take this number and I file my little paper, and then we're having our meeting, and we say we have a contract for it, then those monies, they'll come out of the same number, like during the year? Or either you'll have to do a transfer if it's not exactly right. But you know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to track, trying to do a better job of is understanding when we allocated the money, where we allocated the money and what it was for.
When they budget these funds, they turn in the budget request to us, and we review where they're placing the money to determine that it's in the right functions and the right object codes and things like that, so we put the money in those accounts. On occasion, though, they'll explain the purchase to us in one manner, and when they actually go out and make that purchase, and they tell us exactly what it is they're purchasing, then we decide, oh, this wasn't the proper classification. They're telling us
Okay.
it's a piece of equipment when it really is they're buying some kind of service. And so then we have to move the money to the correct code to do that. But it's still for the same item, just in a different code.
I got you. Okay, when you get down to the custodial services, is that based, did we allocate money for the increase in schools? We increased our population, so did we increase our custodial supplies because of that?
I mean, yes, when they budget for that, they look at all that, they look at all the square footage of the facilities, what our enrollment is, how many teachers we have, so they can determine what kind of custodial supplies they're going to need for each campus. And they also look at their equipment and what equipment needs to be replaced for the next year. And so they'll add some, like if they need one of these large buffers, then they'll know how much that costs, and they'll add it to the budget depending, once they take their
What they
inventory
need for that year.
and see what they need to replace for the following year.
So some of the complaints at the end of the year about the school custodial staff or school cleanliness or whatever, this next school year, will kind of be ahead of the ball game or in
Yes.
line, if you will,
Yes,
because we'll
because
have
we-
more
we-
equipment.
Yes, not only that,
More
we
personnel.
did an audit for the custodial department and all the maintenance and all of that. And and they did a brief exit interview, and they talked about some things on the cleanliness of the buildings and things of that sort. So we're going to be asking a couple of things. Number one, not only having a district person that's over it, but they're recommending an assistant over on the south end of the district or the evening part of the district, having one at one shift, other ones. They recommended some changes with the head custodians need to be where at night with the number of custodians that are there, instead of being there early and all of a sudden over the building, and all of a sudden you have 5, 10, or 15 custodians at night, and no one's there to monitor their work. So they have some good recommendations that TASBO is recommending to us. So
We gave you enough money to do those? You
no,
got enough
no,
money?
not yet. No, we don't have much money, and it's two things that I'm going to be asking additional money to come for. Number one is for the additional night shift custodial supervisor that's over that, and that will help the cleanliness of the building, because somewhere that someone to monitor all what they're doing. That's number one. And the other one is the police, another policeman at Judson High School, because we went with 3 this year in interim. So I would like to have 1 there permanent and make it have 3, because we could be from 34 to 3,600 kids there and more. So that's the two things I like to add on to that for that right there.
Okay.
I know you just passed that up. Reason I was looking at it.
No, yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
You just passed it.
Oh, absolutely.
What is the square footage for
1 to 22. Was it 24? Yeah, 1 to 24. Yeah, and
24,000?
yeah, 24,000 square feet. And they said that that's not a problem. That's coming standard. But I'll get the report. It's coming in. We should get it this summer. So I'll have the report, and then I'll come back at the board meeting, present the report and all the findings and all that kind of stuff.
So that would be on line 935, Dr. Mackey? The police, where you would put that in at?
Yeah, 935. The
935,
extra policeman
okay.
at Judson High School.
But it says that they're gonna get less funds.
Yeah, we want to add that one. The policeman at Judson High
Okay.
School.
When it
Let
comes to
me
my
let
turn,
me
I'll
let me
ask
clarify
you.
something.
I'm
Let me
sorry.
clarify something really quick.
Huh?
This report only is for their supply, like their
Budget.
operation budget. It doesn't include personnel. So their personnel budget is completely separate.
Okay, okay, then that's fine, no problem.
So jumping on down to Mr. Young, I know we talked about, we moved a lot of stuff around in there, and we had the safety and communications change with the network, and that's pretty much stayed the same. We just moved the categories, right? And then last one I had was in guidance and counseling, 808. That's one of my dear things to my heart. Why did we reduce their budget?
Yeah,
Because there were some things that we purchased this year that were a permanent purchase. We didn't have to buy them again. And it was just a few items. As you can see, it's not much money, but we were able to reduce it that much.
Okay, he can still keep up the,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
There was some curriculum they bought that was a one-time thing, and
okay,
you don't have to renew it every year.
thank you.
Mr. Macias.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Salinas. Dr. Mackey.
Which page?
It's page 13. We're still looking at Ms. Robinson's budget. And my question is in regards to an $80,000 allocation for college and career readiness class. I just wanted some verification, or clarification, I should say, on that specifically. Yes, it is 999. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't help. There's a lot of 999s, but it's 80,000, and it was part of the budget last.
College and career?
Yes, correct.
It's for that 30-minute period that they meet. They use the NOSI curriculum and part of College Board curriculum that we purchased for them to work with 3 days a week.
Okay, is that the class that we've discussed in the past about its effectiveness, or how we're measuring if that time is effective?
It's the advisory period.
So it is
yes,
the
sir.
advisory.
It is the advisory.
Again, because I'll go back to the idea that I've been told that kids are not utilizing that to the fullest extent. So the best way to determine if it's working is we're measuring it. So what is the measurability of that program?
Well, for the vocabulary curriculum that we're working on, which is aligned to SAT, we can give a pre and post test at the end of the year. And we did this year, and able to show the students' growth in the vocabulary knowledge of Greek, Latin, and Roman.
And that's actually part of the instruction during that advisory period?
Yes, sir.
That's the same program where people would write in their journals, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, Mr. Derrick asked if we're still going to have that program. Or
Yeah,
that
because
class.
2 days a week, they help the kids with, they get like ZAP notices if kids are missing work or if they're in an advanced class so that they have time. When we went from the block to all the short scheduled day, the feedback from the student advisory is they had no time to process. They're running from one thing to another. And if the kids are involved in anything after school, they may not get home till 8:30 at night and then have all this work. So 2 of those days was to help kids that are behind and also to help kids that are in advanced classes and need time to research or to work on a project.
And it cost $80,000. Why?
No, those 2 days don't.
Okay,
It's for the curriculum. They use the other 3 days during the week.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
You're welcome.
Dr. Mackey, I had actually spoke with you earlier today about inserting a line item for an internal auditor for $75,000, and want, of course, to have discussion with my colleagues on that. Where would you propose that be inserted?
It would be under this,
Dr. Mackey?
Yes.
It would be under, it would not be on these sheets. If it's an internal auditor, it's staff salary position, so it would be part of the salary budget.
So it would-
Oh, we're
I'm
going to do
thinking
it as a contract? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If it's going to be a contract, you're exactly right. If it's going to be in a contract, we would probably have to create, because that, well, let me think a minute here.
Wouldn't we have to create a position, you have to roll that position?
Well, when you mean contract, do you mean it's an external person that we're just going to be contracting to come in and do certain work for us?
Well, I'm not an expert internal auditor, but I do know that other districts are utilizing internal auditors for their districts. So whatever means they're utilizing, if it's a contract, if they're hiring, whatever that is, implementing that, or at least the ability to do that here in the district.
Typically, an internal auditor is an employee of the school district, and so it would be part of the payroll cost. However, there are some districts that, instead of hiring an employee, they do just contract out, like when we were, for example, when we were talking to Gibson Consulting and hire them to do certain jobs. So it depends. If it's going to be an employee, then it goes in the salary budget, which is not on these sheets. But if it's going to be somebody we're going to contract out with, then it would come on these sheets, and that could go under, like, the effective schools budget that Dr. Mackey controls.
That
to
sounds
put
like
in.
an easier way to deal with the issue and establishing. So what budget would that go under?
726 under Dr. Mackey's area.
yeah, right there on page
Okay.
726. 726.
It's page 11. It's code 726. Now, I do want to say that my rationale for including this item in the budget is to go back, not go back, but going forward, we would have an allocation in the budget to potentially use an internal auditor. I don't know how we would implement the program or anything of that yet. That's something that Dr. Mackey and the administration will help us in doing. But having a line item for that already in the budget would help us not ask the question later, where's the money coming from? So
How much did you say?
75,000 was the proposal to add that into the budget.
It seems to me like we've already voted this down twice.
Well, and part of the argument against it was that there was no money in the budget. And so that's why I'm adding this to the budget now. And so if we don't want to allocate money in the budget, then we don't. But it would sound like an intelligent step to put it in and then kind of consider where we want to use this function going forward.
It would seem more intelligent to me if we were to hire an accountant to help with the department. And, you know, an internal auditor will find things anywhere they look. But an internal auditor will not solve it. They'll tell you, yes, this is going on, you need to look at this, you need to look at this, you need to look at this. And some of the reasons we're not looking at certain things is because we don't have the staff. I mean, our accounting staff is thin, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, there could be room there to have someone that can look at things better. And not that they're not being looked at as well as they can, but being as thin as the department is, and the way we're growing, and we've got a
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for your feedback, Gilbert. I think obviously if we decide what the need is, we'll have that debate at a future meeting. But just being given the ability to have an allocation of funds is what I think would at least give us the opportunity to look where we want to might allocate those dollars. I mean, we could actually discuss all day where the support might be needed, but this is just an attempt to, of course, have some wiggle room to discuss where we can expense those dollars. We may not decide to use that $75,000. We may say, hey, we don't need it. Like you just said, we might try a different route. But if it's included in the budget, it'll give us the ability to act.
Well, then I'd like to put in there in the budget, let's put an accounting commission. We don't have to hire him, but we'll have it in there for the wiggle room.
Can I? Is that okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm on your dime
Yeah,
here.
please,
Okay.
please.
Here's where I'm at. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, you're only trying to improve what's happening in the district. But I guess I kind of agree with Gilbert that if we had these big red flags going on, I would be the first one to support you, but we don't. When things have come up, human resources, special ed, the superintendent administration has responded to it, right? We had folks look at human resources. We had folks look at special ed. And I guess my point to this is we chose people that had expertise in those areas to come down and look at us. Therefore, we got stuff out. An auditor is basically an accountant who doesn't always have the subject matter expertise in what you want to look at. You know, what I would propose is that, you know, if there's a red flag on something, let's address it and look at it. But see, an internal auditor to me is like a fishing expedition. We're looking to find things bad. Now, if we were a district where we had, you know, we were in the red, and we had, you know, incredible turnover, and, you know, you've had multiple grievances, I would be right behind you, Jose. I'd be right behind you supporting everything. But I don't see spending money on a fishing expedition to try to find things that may or may not be there. And like we talked today, you know, I voted for the guy to come in, and we spent $27,000, and he was an accountant. He was an auditing firm. And he came in, and all he did was say, we need to spend $500,000 more to maybe find something. I'm a little different. You know, I will agree to disagree on this, but, you know, you don't go spending money to try to find something that's wrong or something most likely isn't wrong. I mean, we have great controls. I mean, we get the financial spreadsheets. You know, look at our grades, you know, this year. Things are moving in the right direction. And when we do find something where there could be problems, human resources, we got good recommendations. We need to add people there. You know, special ed, we need to add things there. You know, I'll be 100% behind you, but I don't want to put, it's kind of like this. You budget $75,000 for an internal auditor, you're going to spend $75,000 for an internal auditor. If the issue is like Gilbert says, we need more accounting, or we need more curriculum, or we need more, you know, police officers or more human resources, let's hire the people internally so that we get the job done. I don't think we have to hire an internal auditor to tell us what we already know is wrong or where we need extra help. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Obviously, I think we'll have additional discussion on this. Just as another caveat to it, if we decided we wanted an accountant, we could always allocate the $75,000 that we had placed for an internal auditor to that, if that's what the board decided was most important. So again, so we don't beat this to death. It really is just to add that item. We have some flexibility later. But I will say that internal audits are really designed to save money, increase efficiency, and ensure secure operations. And so anytime we're telling our taxpayers we're doing the best with your dollars to ensure that it's being managed efficiently, I mean, that's really part of our job. So I think it's a winning situation for us to get involved in. But I'll go ahead and,
I can have
Mr. Dare,
just on that.
go ahead.
Say that I would support putting it in the budget as a contract item, not as a personnel item, because we don't have a job description, we don't have a pay scale. But to have the money allocated so that should a need come up where the board decides they need something audited, the money is already there. I can support 75.
Well, I'll move on, just since I do have the floor here for a second. I just wanted to get some feedback on that issue before I,
Ask a question on this?
sure.
I know you asked for an internal auditor, Mr. Flores asked for a financial. Before we move on, I want to know what do we do?
Well,
what I'm
actually,
trying to figure
I'll make a motion to amend,
No, you're going to amend the budget?
yeah, to amend it to include
Okay,
that
you're
item.
going to do that later?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I mean,
Okay, I just want to know what to do.
Sure. So I'll make a motion to amend on that end. But I just want to make sure I have all my questions answered. I also asked for compensation information compared to the other districts, and thank you for getting that compiled. I had heard a report from a constituent that our salary was severely behind some of the other districts. Dead last, actually, when you compared it to some of our larger districts. And in trying to be competitive and retain employees, I was a little alarmed by that. So obviously I want to revisit that before we move forward to see if we need to do something to be more competitive or if we accept our position. Does everybody have the document?
Yes.
Yeah. And so looking at this, just for the sake of the audience, it shows Judson at 46,600 if we were to adopt the current.
Beginning.
Yeah, for the beginning, for beginning teachers. The highest in here I see is East Central at 49.6, and then I think the midpoint would be maybe 47.9 or something like that. So we're last. So I guess let's have some discussion on this because I
Mr.
need.
Macias, before you proceed, I would like to bring some clarification that East Central and Shirt Cibolo have not approved what you're looking at. This is what they're proposing.
Okay.
And
Good. That's
so
good to
just
know.
so that you know that they are kind of actually watching us tonight.
Okay, so East Central and Shirts, you said, were in the proposal mode. They hadn't been affirmed. And just for the record, I think Mr. Elizondo had mentioned something about SAISD. That's a starting salary of $47,900, but they really receive a little less than that. And that's because why?
Yes, sir, because that school district also contributes to Social Security, so they actually receive about $3,300 less than that take-home pay.
Okay. All right, so I'll pose the question back to my colleagues in terms of what do you think we should do in this regard? Leave things the way they are in the teacher salaries or adjust to be more competitive?
I know what you're saying. You know, look at all the other salaries, the other districts, but the real question is what can Judson afford? Okay, and we went through this whole process for the last 3 months of what can we afford, what's the parity. I don't want to do things just because another district does it. That's a bad way to do business. That's not how you do business. You do business based on what you can afford and invest for your employees. I said many times we have 3 fiduciary responsibilities. One to the student, one to the taxpayer, and one to our employees. And we got great employees, but this is what we can afford in this budget. So, thanks.
Mr. LaFoyle, Mr. Macias, can Mr. LaFoyle?
Yeah, I would like some feedback
Okay,
before
go
I
ahead.
yield, but I'm asking.
I disagree with you, Steve, on that because of the fact that we aren't doing it just because another school district we're doing it. We're doing it to get qualified teachers. Now, you know yourself, if you go to work and somebody's paying you $50,000 over here and $65,000 over there, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the $65,000, of course. Human nature. Thing is, I agree that we should bring our starting salary up. I don't know where, but bring it up. 47 at least.
We can do it. I agree with 40.
Can I say something here?
Yeah.
Also?
Okay.
Can I jump in here?
So, hold on. Mr. LaFoyle has the floor. I'll come back to you, sir.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
do it.
he said he'll relay it.
Okay, here's another thing, too. I got a very disturbing email this week from one of the association's leadership. Basically, the leadership of one of these associations think we're not doing a good job, and they said bad things about the board and bad things about the administration. And I think it's irreprehensible that, you know, we support the teachers in this district. I support them. It was Mr. Flores over here that said, you know, we need to give them a retention bonus last Christmas, and we found the money to do that. We dug in our pockets starting the very first day to give teachers a pay raise in this district. Then I get an email basically blasting the district and blasting the administration. And you know what? If they want to play politics, that's okay. If they want to play politics, that's fine. But you know what? You lose a lot of support from guys like me sitting up here at the board that supported the teachers and the members of the association when I get emails like that. So I'm not going to support a pay raise, and I will lay that right at the feet of the association leadership.
Can I say something? Oh, go ahead, Mr. LaFoy.
Yeah, that's great, Steve, but you don't cut off your arm just because somebody's saying something over here that you didn't like. The thing is the teachers. We're talking about all of our teachers, not just an organization in our group. We're talking about all of our teachers.
But an
Our
association
teachers
leadership
support us.
speaks for the membership, which speaks for the teachers.
No, she don't speak for the whole she speaks for her membership or his membership, whichever it happens to be. She don't speak for all of our teachers. All of our teachers think we're doing a great job. So, you know, just to deny them a raise because some organization said that we're doing a lousy job, that means we must be doing a good job.
Okay, can I say something?
Right now, if we go to 47,000, that's only $300,000 more in the budget.
So, okay, no. Are you finished, sir?
Yeah, I'm done now.
Dr. Mackey? And
Yes.
then I'll say something.
Yes, we can do it to the board. We can go up to that $300,000. We have the funding to go up. If you look at the budget, when Mr. Elizondo presented, we have a $600,000.
What does this do to the pay scale?
It takes, the pay scale would start at, no. I've got it right here. I've been working on this and looking at it because I've been looking at other districts going up. So I asked Mr. Elizondo and Ms. Howard to start working on this because we showed our hand first, and now the other districts are trying to beat us because it's recruiting time, and they're trying to recruit teachers because of pay. As you notice, it's the mobility rate, and there was a survey that came out today that 31% of the teachers in Texas have the mobility of moving around throughout the state. So we got that report today. So I asked Ms. Howard and Mr. Elizondo to review this. And what we will move this to is that a starting teacher would make $47,000, and the number two would be from $47,000 up to zero experience. Up to 8 would be $47,350. So we can do it. And it costs us under $300,000, and we can do it.
So we're down to our surplus budget to $200,000.
Pardon me?
So, on our surplus budget that we have of $600,000.
Yes, it'd be down. It'd be
We're
down.
taking 300 of that, and then 75 of that, we're down to $225,000.
Correct.
Yes, and that, yes.
And in all due respect, I do think you need to specifically address that. We still need to vote on that, I think, to determine if we want to do that or not. Sorry, Mr. Smith.
No, what I was going to say, because of Mr. Flores, if you remember, I believe it was November when you brought it out, or say, why don't we do something for our teachers? Well, we couldn't call it
A
what
bonus.
was a
Can't
bonus?
call it a bonus.
So, yeah. Well, I don't know whether you've been reading the paper. Well, guess what they're doing? They're giving the raise
Under
either
300,000.
3%, 4%,
Under 300,000.
and I believe one school district that I talked to might go up to 10%. So I don't know whether they're going to come through or not. But they're adding the employee incentive, retention incentive.
Retention incentive, yeah.
You had never heard about that. We were the first ones because Mr. Flores is the one that really brought it out and said, you know what? We can do this. And all of a sudden now,
Everybody.
they're using it this year, not only giving that, but on top of that, they're giving a retention too. And thank you, Mr. Flores.
That was a good idea, Mr. Salinas. Given that retention, Salinas, we were going, retention for the employees, we were going to the fund balance to do that. We did not have to go to the fund balance to do that. We financed it with last year's budget. And we just got our Moody report in today. We went in, Mr. Salinas and I went to the meeting in Dallas, and it says, Mr. Elizondo and Ms. Gangwar, four of us went. It says the rating action reflect the district's sizable and expandable tax base, well-managed finances with solid reserve, sound physical practices, and high but manageable debt service. And then it goes down that says the district continue to exhibit sound physical practice, which have augmented reserve levels, and it says guided by an experienced and physical conservative management team. We believe that the district will continue to demonstrate prudent fiscal management that will maintain ample reserves sufficient to manage challenges associated with the rapid growth. So that's three things that this is their job, they did this, and this is going official throughout the nation to everybody.
Well, Mr. Salinas, I just have one last thing to do. I'd like to move to amend the budget to include a $75,000 allocation for an internal auditor and the $300,000 increase for teacher salaries.
Or beginning,
Beginning.
right? Oh, we have to do them separately?
We can.
Do them separate if he wants to vote separate. I know what you're
Oh,
saying.
okay,
You want to
okay.
vote for one and maybe
All
not
right.
the other.
Then let me reword.
Yes.
Let me reword my motion. I'll do the first one. I move to amend that we add $75,000 to the contract budget for internal audit position. Internal auditor, not position, internal auditor.
No, just say, wait, let's get the motion right. Just internal audits.
Internal audits.
Don't want a position.
That way it gives them flexibility.
Because it would be an account.
Yeah. So that's my motion.
Roll call, you wanted,
I didn't get a
I
second.
second.
oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
we have a motion, an amendment and a second. Discussion. Gilbert.
I want to amend that to add $75,000 for a position as a, that's all right, but I also want $75,000 put in for a position for an account. Mr. Dare says we don't have a position description, but there is a position description out there for an account. Am I correct? There is, okay. So I'm going to say that we put that in there, whether we hire it or not. That's the motion, I'm making the motion.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Discussion.
I want to make sure I understand. So this accountant position would be at the same job title, job pay scale? So I'd like to know, what is that?
Approximately $75,000. Oh, you want the actual pay scale?
Yeah, well, we already have a job description, but it's the pay scale that we have. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. This would be reporting to Mr. Elizondo and would be under Mr. Elizondo's department.
Professional operations.
They're looking for me a number.
It would be in professional operations pay grade 4, approximately $56,000 plus benefits. Yeah, about $60,000.
Okay, so then my second question would be, Dr. Mackey, has your finance and accounting department suffered, and do you have a need for an additional accountant in this department that you've not requested from the board?
Okay, the reason I haven't requested because we've had a tight budget in the past, and I did visit with Mr. Elizondo today, and we have cut some positions in that during the tight budget crunch, as well as other positions in the district office staff. So yes, there will be a need and sufficient need for that position. Yes.
And what job duties would this accountant have? When did we lose this position?
Mr.
Did we
Elizondo.
lose it during the RIF?
We did
How
not
long
lose.
ago since we've had it?
We did not lose that particular position.
Okay.
If we were to hire somebody, their main responsibilities would be to do budget control and cash management.
Okay.
But we could also look at other things. If part of that was to review certain processes that Dr. Mackey wanted to do, we could also, that person could be trained to do that as well. So if he had something that we have a person right now who we use, their title's not internal auditor, but they do a lot of reviews for us of student activity funds and things like that. And if there was a need for this person to also assist in other reviews like that in other areas, they could also do that as well.
Okay.
We would not call it an internal auditor. It would just be somebody that we would
Sure.
have that could do that.
I don't have a problem with supporting our finance office with an additional position. I can't say that, I think Mr. Flores should have had to come forward. I think if you needed the position, Dr. Mackey, then you should have put it in with the appropriate justification. I think finances are critical, and I would never deny this administration a position in finance and in the need to account for our monies. I would say if it's only 60,000, that it be 60,000 and not 75, Gilbert, if that's what it's needed. And I don't have a problem with supporting that. I don't want it to be a if maybe. If you need it, let's get it. Let's get them started so they can be there when school starts.
Sounds good.
Beginner.
I think that 75 is a fair price, and we know that the salary is going to be anywhere from 50 to 60. And then the benefit goes on top. That makes it right around 75,000. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. If we do spend it, we have it.
Is that the max on that line? Federal payment, I have a problem with that. What page is that on? Page 24.
Did you hear that?
Mike's not on. That would be an accountant 2. And so minimum is 200, mid is 251, max is 301. So Dr. Mackey, when you allocate money for positions like we just did this attendant position, where do you base your figure on? Do you base it on the mid? Do you base it on the max that you could hire? How do you come up with that figure?
Ms. Adair, we use the mid to
Use the mid?
determine, correct,
Okay.
because according to policy that we would have to have special permission from the superintendent to offer above the mid.
So is the mid the 60,000?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other? Mr. Macias.
I guess, Dr. Mackey, I think the board recently relinquished its authority to approve hiring. Would this position... Only teachers, so only for teachers? So this position would still have to come to the board if we decided to fill it? No?
Once you vote for the position, then you can fill it.
Okay, so that's the difference between the internal audit thing. We still have an opportunity to come and talk about where and what we need to allocate those funds. By giving that authority today, I mean, Dr. Mackey can fill it tomorrow, which means we won't have an opportunity. And I don't know if accounting is the best area. I understand there's needs across the district. So I'm sure if we asked another cabinet member, he'd say, hey, I need someone too. So we need to determine where we want to spend those dollars. And so I would just say, I mean, it's a good idea. We just can't support everybody. And if before we make a decision, let's make sure we're supporting the right area. If I had to ask Dr. Mackey where the most critical area is, would you give me something other than accounting?
Yeah, separate critical areas, curriculum instruction, business office, special ed department, which we build the HR department, the benefits department, that would be another one. We could add a lot of positions that we've taken away from the last 2 years.
And let me just propose this. I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative about this issue, but let Dr. Mackey look at those areas and determine which one is his number one priority.
Well, I'm just saying like you, I'm going to put it in the budget so we can have some wiggle room.
But we won't. He'll hire someone tomorrow. I mean, he'll have that authority to do that.
That's right, he'll have the authority, just like if you put in the budget for the internal audit, he'll have the authority if it's less than $50,000.
I would like board discussion. I don't think Dr. Mackey would do that, honestly. I don't think he's going to go out and get an internal auditor tomorrow. So we'll have to give him some direction on that end. But that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, no. Go ahead, sir.
Raising my hand? Jose, here's what I like. I think that this is the wrong time to place that 75,000 in right now, and I'll tell you why. Okay, you're right. Okay, we're on the count position. Let's take a vote.
Yes. Let's go ahead and vote on the amendment by Mr. Flores. Jackie, do you have the amendment from Mr. Flores, or you want to hear it? I'm sorry?
Yeah, I want to amend the motion.
Amend
to
the
include
budget, right?
A position, an accounting position for $75,000 to amend the personnel budget.
Okay, you can vote. Okay, the amendment passes 4-3. Okay. Now we go back to the possible auditor, but.
Jose, here's what I like for you to do. Kind of table this. I think we need more information on this, and especially we got enough money in the fund balance. If we need $75,000 or so, we can pull it out of there just like we do anything else. I know what your intent is, and I think it's noble, to put something in there to force a discussion. But I don't know if an auditor costs $50,000, $75,000. I don't know what the criteria you want for this auditor, what you want them to do or not to do. All I'm based on is the failure we had with the internal auditor cost us $27,000. So I just ask you to table it, put it on the agenda, give us some idea of what you want, and how you want this person to function. I just think it's a bad timing for this to put it a line item. So.
Ms. Ader.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the internal auditor, we have had plenty of heated discussions about this. I voted against it because I didn't think that was the appropriate time because it wasn't in the budget. Now we're at the budget, and we don't have a job description. The board has not talked about what it should do. We don't have information. I did attend a session at the Judson Education Foundation conference where the speaker noted that all large districts should have an internal auditor. I did talk to some of the other board members, not our board, in San Antonio, and they do have internal auditors. So actually, if a position had been created and we talked about what they do and how they save money, if we'd done all that, I would vote for a position. But we didn't do that, and I don't want to turn around this next year and be at the same place we were last year where we said we didn't allocate any money. The difference in this district is not known to be like the military, which I served, to spend the money just because they have it. I honestly do not believe that Dr. Mackey is going to just spend the money because it's there. And an internal auditor is really for the use of the board when the board has a concern, and it's not really something that the superintendent, when I read it on the TEA website or the Texas Education Code, when I don't remember the exact number, but the Texas Education Code talks about internal auditor. They're hired by the board and they report to the board. So it's not a superintendent control position. It's a different kind of employee outside of that box. So having said all that, because we don't have all of that stuff, to simplify it, I would support the $75,000 being allocated in the budget, but with the understanding it's not there just because we just spend it. I think whenever the money needs to be spent, it'll have to come back to the board on an agenda item, and there needs to be some discussion of what we're doing and whether or not the superintendent has not done it. Just like Dr. Mackey said, he just had maintenance custodial audited by TASBA or whatever. It would have to be something that the superintendent has not done or involving the superintendent. I don't think it's just a casual, I'm just speaking for myself, I don't take it as a casual thing. So I'm willing to set the money aside for that purpose.
Mr. Flores.
Thank you. I just, last year at the budget time is when we put that 22,000 in there for that internal audit. We did it at the budget time. We allowed 22,000 for this firm to come in and do an assessment, okay? And then after they came in with their assessment and said that we had too much money in our child nutrition, which, I didn't see that as a problem, but, then they wanted to bring them back to do something. That's when their numbers came back to us, growing to about $400,000. I'll say anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. That's what it came back with in their proposal, that what it would cost them. So, that's why I'm saying you're looking at something, it's not just $75,000. If they come back and say, hey, I think if we ever have problems, I think Dr. Mackey has addressed those problems well by bringing in TASB, okay, that's part of that $75,000 could be used for TASB then, to come in with their auditors. If that's the case where they come in and then if it's a big amount, then we have to have an RFP, an RFQ if we're hiring professionals, correct? So we have to go out for an RFQ on that. Or we hire like TASB and TASBO, whoever has come in. But, if that's the way we want to do it, if that's the way we want to lay out the parameters, we'll see, see what we can do. But I agree with Mr. Salyer that if we can hold it, and yes, we have that money, we can go into amend the budget. It's not like we're digging into a hole where we already had a hole before that we have in previous years. So, I'd like a well-defined position or what we're looking for exactly. Thank you.
I don't remember that we actually put that amount on the side from included in the budget. I thought we got that money after the budget had been made. Is that correct, Dr. Mackey? Okay. I'm just saying, I don't remember. I thought that I don't think we put it there. I think we had to come and we used money from the general fund.
Here's what I would support. Okay, Jose? I would support $75,000 to be used to purchase outside expertise to look at certain areas in the district where we assume we have problems. Here's the problem with an internal auditor. An internal auditor usually has an accounting background. Let's take special ed for instance. The folks that came down and looked at our special ed program, who were they? They were people that had expertise in special ed. Now, what does an accountant, an auditor know about special ed? He's going to look about what he knows at numbers, okay? I would even increase the, if we wanted to do this, I would increase it to, give the discretion of the superintendent and the board, let the superintendent say, I think we got a problem in this area. I would like to bring some outside expertise in to look at it, just like we did human resources and just like we did, special ed. That's how you, in my opinion, Jose, that's how you look at it. If you have an issue, you bring the expertise in to look at the problem and then get a report from them like we did there. I just don't want to, I mean, I would support that, not just hiring an internal auditor. To me, they're usually accountants, and they don't have the expertise of school districts, the problems. I mean, who knows more about transportation? Well, you bring transportation people in. You know, curriculum. We have a problem with curriculum or special ed. You bring those people in. That's what I would support. But an individual to come in as an auditor without subject matter expertise, I guess is what I want to say, I really think that's kind of foolish. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I would support if it was to hire expertise to look at what we do wrong. Thanks.
Ms. Ader.
Dr. Mackey, I would ask that you would provide the board with the information on the internal auditor legal stuff from the Texas Education Code. If you'd provide that to the board via email at a later date, and I call for the question.
Okay, we have an amendment to the, we've called for the question, we got to vote. Yeah, for call of the question. Oh, okay. Go. But, wait a minute, I thought Mr. Sellier said he could, you didn't amend, I'm sorry, I heard 100,000, to have it there on the side.
The amendment on the floor is to allocate $75,000 for an internal audit onto the budget.
If needed.
If needed.
Passes. The amendment passes 5-2. Okay. No.
I move to amend the budget to include a $300,000 allocation for teacher salaries.
For beginning.
Teachers,
is that right, Ms. Hold on. No, that's not correct.
No?
What,
Let me reword the motion. How do I need to state it?
just allocating $300,000 for adjustments to the teacher's scale so that the beginning salary for 0-year experience will be at $47,000, and then we adjust the other steps as necessary to make sure that.
Okay, let me.
Mr. Flores has something. If we're showing we're at 46.6, how's 300? Is that 300,000 going to carry everybody 400,000?
No, that's just.
It would take 300,000 to get us the beginning teachers to 47.
Let me make the motion so we can have discussion on it, just so we can formally have that discussion. I move to amend the budget to increase 0-year teachers to $47,000, which would be an increase of $300,000 to the budget. And to adjust salaries as needed.
On the next steps.
For the next steps.
Okay, we have amendment and a second. Now discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Flores.
Okay, will that $300,000 handle the adjustment, Mr. Arredondo?
Yes.
It will handle the adjustment? $300,000?
Yes, sir. And let me just make sure that everyone understands. If we do this, you're right. The 0-year teacher, which we haven't hired right now, would be at $47,000. When we do that, it's going to cause the next steps all the way through year 7 to be shifted. So each one of those folks that are in years 1 through 7 that were here, 0 through 6 this year, not going to 1 through 7 next year, are going to get an additional $400 increase. So those teachers, instead of getting $1,500, are going to get $1,900. And the rest of the teachers below that are going to get $1,500. The master's program will also change exactly the same. Those folks will get the additional $400.
Yeah, good question, sir.
Right, so just understand that some teachers,
Yes.
so just like I said, just
Okay, sir? You're okay? Okay. Anybody? Okay, now we can vote. Oh, I'm sorry. I was the only one. Okay, unanimous vote, 7-0. Thank you, board. Yes, sir.
Dr. Mackey, I would like to, and I would like to offer some education tuition reimbursement for those teachers that already have started their master's program and are at least 10 hours into their master's program. If they get an A, we give them for that semester, and at the most they're going to take 6 hours. Maybe that's
Maybe 3.
hours, a semester. And I would say that if we could put like 75,000, and that's the maximum we have, 75,000. I don't know how many people are going for the master, but I do know that if they got an A, we could give them, $500, and they got a B, we give them $275. You can't get less than two. So I'd like to be able to help our teachers out because that's not much because the master's program costs what, 30,000, 40,000. So, but it's something that they're putting the extra effort in to go forward and to get their master's and putting their time in. And I would like to, I'm not sure exactly how to word it. Maybe a little help that from the staff. Well, I'm just amending my motion. I need to know how to word it.
Oh. Well, we don't have a real motion yet. Sir.
Can we waive the rules and discuss it? Sure. Mr. President, can we waive the rules and discuss it?
No, I'm kidding. Yes, let's go ahead and waive the rule because I know he wants to say something and Steve might want to say something or anybody else. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir, Mr.
All I
Flores.
wanna say is-
Well, hold on, sir. Oh, okay, go ahead.
All I want to say is, can somebody give me a dollar figure on this? I'm data driven.
What I'm asking is that we allocate, let's say 75,000, and that's the maximum we'll spend. And I don't think we'll spend it all this year.
You'd be surprised.
Well, and that depends on the number of people that are taking already at least 10 hours in their master's program.
Yeah, they must have a minimum of 10 hours
Minimum of 10 hours in the
vested.
program. Right. And if they get an A this semester, let's say at the end of December, they say, hey, I got an A. Okay, you get $500.
For each class?
Well, yeah.
No,
I can only see it take the 3 hours, unless somebody's really ambitious and going with the 6 hours. But 6
the
hours
thing
is
is,
the maximum.
Here's kind of what I'd like to do. Because this is unknown territory. We don't know how many teachers are enrolled in master's programs. A lot, okay? A lot. So here's what I like to do. We can keep it at 75,000, and then for every teacher that does a course, let's give them $200, and that way per course, and that way we can figure out if it works, how much we have in there, okay? And Gilbert and I talked about this for a long time today, and just kind of see how many's out there, and when the money's gone, the money's gone.
no, I'm going to say something. You finished, sir? I think that's a great idea, except we have not allowed our superintendent to look into this. I think, and I don't know too much about budgets, but I think we could always come back and amend the budget once he gets the information. Say, you know what? Yes, there's a lot of interest, and maybe let our superintendent come back and give us a recommendation. Give us a recommendation, so that way we have an idea, instead of just saying, oh, 75. But what happens if we need 100,000? I'm telling you, there's a lot of teachers that take 3 hours or maybe 6 hours, because now they don't have to go to class. They can take it in the computer, okay? So I think, why don't we allow him to do that for us, bring us back the information, and then let's go ahead. That way we'll have a more or less figure instead of taking a chance on 75, because I think we're going to surpass the 75. Thank you. You say, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Mackey. Did you want to say something? Okay.
Yes, sir. I agree with you, Mr. Salinas. But I will tell the board that in the Judson Education Foundation, we have a tuition assistance program. It's a nightmare. And employees take the money, go to school, and leave. And we can't control what they take. And so we were reimbursing teachers or employees, sorry, that was taking stuff totally unrelated to education and their teaching, and they were getting skills in something else, and then they leave. And so I couldn't support this at this time. I don't think we're at the position that we can track it, or somebody's going to have to be tracking it, tracking the grades, tracking the hours, and oh man, this is a nightmare. So I couldn't support this, but I would like the superintendent to get information, bring us back more data.
Ms. Williams.
I would echo what y'all just said too. I think it's a great idea, but I need to know so much more. You threw out the number 75,000, and you just proposed about 500 for an A. That's 75,000 divided by 500 is 150. And we've got a lot of teachers working on their masters, and until I know more about how many people, and like June said, tracking, I can't support it at this time, but I'd love to discuss it further and figure out more once we have more information.
Mr. Flores?
Thank you. And this is the same board that just put in $75,000 for an internal auditor with no parameters. No, we have a job description for an accountant, but for an internal auditor that you wanted, there is nothing. You just told the superintendent, hey, get us what we think you'll need. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, did you just put your name there, June? Because I never went through the budget of mine. Page 11, warehouse. I believe that Dr. Mackey, and I believe Mr. Kirchner is the one that said they were going to be doing some remodeling at the warehouse, some lifters or something. There was something that was discussed.
There were two things. There was the cardboard recycling
Yes,
equipment.
I remember that.
And the last dock, they needed a ramp.
There we go. So is this part of it?
That's both those
Oh,
items.
okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Let me go to the next one. We talked about allocating 70,000 for ISD lesson plans. But it looks like we are going to be buying from Ford Bend ISD. Is that correct? I'm sorry, page 13. Number 999, sir, like in 3, 4, where it says Ford Bend 70,000. Dr. Mackey? Well, it says there Ford Bend ISD. Is that right? Yes, sir. 70,000.
Yeah, I see that.
Looking at them, they don't have plans either. They have a framework, which is what C-Scope still has, and it looks almost identical. Ms. Grady got a copy from her daughter who works there too, the IFD and C-Scope. So we need the money to we want to be able to hire people to help write or to, but it just won't be from Fort Bend. We need that money to help develop lesson
So it's
plans.
just ISD lesson plans, is that okay?
Yes, yes, sir. We
Okay.
need to just take for a bend out. Development, yeah. Whether we
lesson
buy
plans.
it, whether we pay people to help, yeah.
Okay. Okay, just asking. Okay, let me go to page 17. On general operating revenues, Simon Youth Foundation, JECA Computer Room. Do they mean JLA? JLA or JECA? They don't have nothing to do with JECA, right? Is that an error? No, it's on page. Oh, that's on the next discussion? Oh, okay, so I'll come back then. Thank you. Okay, that's all I had as far as the budget. Okay, Ms. Adair?
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. I want to move to amend the recommendation of, let me go to the right page, of the allocation for 6% raise for clerical manual trades. I don't want to amend that portion. I want to amend the 3% recommendation for professional educator to $1,500, which we just increased the teachers, so I just stick with the $1,500. I don't have any other numbers. To $1,500 flat increase instead of the 3%, so that it would, when I had it in mind, it was the same as the other. So yeah, let me hold the motion and let me get it right. What did we just raise the teachers to? Raise it to 47, which came out to what?
It's going to be different. I mean, some of them, the teachers that are going to be between 1 to 7 years of experience are going to make
Oh, yeah, I remember what you did.
1,900, and the rest will be 1,500.
Okay, so I'm going to just stick with my, I move to have the professional educator raise be 1,500 across the board instead of the 3% raise. Which would be,
We have an amendment and a second by Mr. Macias. Discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes.
the idea behind this was to give the professional educator levels the same raise that we had allocated to the teachers, nurses, librarians. We know that when we do percentages instead of flat rates, everybody gets a different amount, but the $1,500 would give every one of the professional educators a $1,500. Okay, I know. So let me explain that other part, right, Dr. Mackey? Dr. Mackey has been helping me. I mean, Mr. Elizondo and Dr. Mackey. I always thought when the board voted on a raise that if I was making $50,000 and we gave a 5% raise, that everybody got 5%, but that's not how it works. It goes to the midpoint, and correct me if I say something wrong. So the 5% is from the midpoint, and if the employees are below the midpoint, then they get the full. If they're above the midpoint, then they don't. So
No.
if they're above the midpoint, they get what?
Our practice has been that when the board authorizes a pay increase for anybody on the minimum, mid, max pay scale, that every employee in there gets the same amount regardless if they're at the minimum or at the maximum. They all get the same amount across.
They get the full 6%.
They would, yes.
Not 6, man.
For the auxiliary, whatever percentage is approved.
Okay, so now I would draw the board's attention to the compensation plan that we approved last Thursday night. They have it on board book. They have their little calculator. They have their little machines. It was on our board book, remember? The federal compensation plan?
Go ahead. Speak what you got to speak.
On page
8.
On page 8, under general pay increase calculation, it reads, no employee's pay will be increased beyond the maximum of their assigned pay range unless the board approves a special adjustment. Increases to employees who are at or above the maximum may be approved as an adjustment to base pay or as a lump sum payment. And I can pass it down if anybody wants to see what the policy read that we voted on. So anyway, I made a motion, and it's for discussion.
Mr. Macias?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Salinas. I do think that this is a good request. I think it was a little easier, to Ms. Adair's point, when we had increased the teacher salaries to $1,500, that there'd be some equity in increasing our administrative salaries to $1,500, so that there could be some uniformity, if you will, in that increases. I don't know if we need to entertain the idea of matching what we just did for the teachers in terms of increasing their salary to $47,000, but it does sound like it might be a little too difficult to do at this moment. So $1,500 is probably the best measure to use for right now. The point of it is, quite simply, some of our administrators are making anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000. And the increase in salary for them proportionally is anywhere from, I think, $2,100 to even $2,900, which is significantly higher than the $1,500 that we're giving our teachers. So in terms of trying to be equitable, I think this $1,500 increase still tells our administrators we appreciate them. It's still a raise, but it allows us to kind of guard the increase in salary. Because once we increase that salary, I mean, we're going to be stuck at that salary till next year, and it's going to increase. So I'd much rather have a controlled growth than potentially double what we had.
Mr. Sally.
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do, parity, but it's bad accounting, Jim. Parity is bad accounting, okay? Here's why. If you take a percentage is how you want to do it, because very simply, I'll use this. If you have someone that makes $10,000, you have somebody that makes $20,000, and you give each of them a $1,500 raise, who has the highest percentage of raise? The lower people, right? Not the higher people. So there's no equity in that to the higher people. Now you pay salaries for three reasons. One, certification and education, right?
Correct.
Expertise in their field, correct. Longevity, and for their supervisory position and what they do, okay? If you give $1,500 to everybody, then why try to get promoted? I mean, it's the wrong way to, I think we're sending the wrong message. I know what you're trying to do, June, and I agree with that. But a flat fee is wrong because it rewards the lowest people and hurts your highest people on a flat fee. That's why you do a percentage. Because like I said, you reward people for their supervisory position, their expertise and their credentials, and their longevity. I can't talk, I'm sorry. Longevity. Talk for me, June. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you don't do a flat. Now, in December, when we gave the retention, that was very different, okay? We were just giving everybody a reward for being here and being good employees. What you want to do is reward your people across the board, and that's why you do it with percentage, not with a flat fee. You don't want to get in this parity thing, because when you get in this parity thing, you know, well, he got $1,500 and he got $1,500, and you bring this wedge together, okay? You're going up on the lower and down on the higher by doing that. And eventually you'll have everybody making the same amount of money. That's not what you want to do. You want to reward everybody across the board through a cost of living. This is not a reward for longevity or any. This is a reward for inflation is what it is. We reward people with stipends for doing extra things. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Flores.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that too. And my logic on this is, why did you get an education? Why did you increase your education and get certification? To make the same money as the guy that doesn't have it? Or to show that you're, this is how you move ahead? How can you tell our kids, hey, get your education and you'll be good at this and then you can make more money? And then it comes down to, well, wait a minute, but We want everybody to get the same amount. That's why I can't support it. I understand, but you're talking about people that have more responsibilities. You're talking about people that have different certifications, and they are working within a field of their expertise that we hired them for, and that we're holding them accountable for. In that area. If finance gives us some wrong numbers or something, we're going to get down on Dr. Mackey. He's going to get down on Mr. Elizondo. We get some bad reports from Ms. Howard, the same thing. We're holding them to a higher standard. And I think that getting compensated that way and the percentage is the way that it goes. It's not everybody. I've thought about that 80,000. Anybody making more than 80,000 doesn't get anything. But you just start messing with the grid. That's what happens. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Good explanation from you and Mr. Sellier. But you all forgot one thing. I believe nowadays the contract for a teacher is 183? 187. You got to remember one thing. The reason they made the administrator make more money is because they have to work between 210 to 27 to 26. So basically, that's why they make that extra higher salary, and that's correct. They have more responsibilities. They have to supervise all their teachers. They have to evaluate all the teachers. So in that aspect, I think 3% is more than fair. So I'm sorry, I will go with the 3% that is being recommended by the administration. Thank you.
Yes, and for the record, of course, I am very appreciative of all our administrators. This isn't a permanent deal. We do our budget every year for a reason, so that we can have these discussions and figure out what we need to do strategically. So by trying to save some money on the higher salary end, I think that would position our district to really evaluate things. We all know teachers, nurses, and librarians are important to us, and that's why we need to compensate them. I'm not sure if we've done the extensive study in terms of our administration, their salaries, their certifications. That's been brought up a couple of times. I don't know. And again, the $1,500 is still a way to say that they are doing a good job, that we're giving them an increase. But just don't take it in the terms of we're not recognizing their hard work. I mean, this is just really a way to potentially save some money for the district as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Salyer. That word, parity, I'd forgotten that word. I agree with you and Mr. Flores, but I want to be clear. In no way am I trying to degrade the positions that are held on the professional educator job classification. And we know that those pay scales are different, Mr. Salinas, in that they're paid by the day. And so when I did the math on some of them, I just randomly picked some out. I took into consideration the days. I did some at 197. I did some at 207. I did some at 226. I did different groups of the pay ranging from 1 through 9. And my economics class kind of clashes with parity in that supply and demand. We have a critical need for teachers. One of the things that I learned in my school board training is when you're looking at your budget, how much of the money is affecting the kids, the people that are closest to the kids in the classroom. And so the teachers are at the top of that list. And when the teachers, nurses, librarians, when those people are in the classroom with the good kids, the bad kids, the middle class kids, when they're with all those kids and they've got to bring that learning process together, then I don't want to diminish what they're doing and what they're contributing. When I first looked at this, of course, they were at the 1,500, and I appreciate the board approving them, the increase. But as we're getting ready to open more schools, and we're going to need to make more positions, the higher we make this salary now, the higher it's going to cost us when we open and we hire additional people. And these positions are not, they're not readily available. We don't have a lot of our professional educator levels that we can't fill. I mean, I think if we look at our personnel rosters, or if we compare ourselves to the others. So in light of whatever the vote turns out to be, I would like to know, Dr. Superintendent, on the professional educator job classifications, I'd like to know how many people are in each of these positions that you're unable to fill. Where do you think there's a problem in the salary range that keeps you from filling these professional educator positions? And a lot of our teachers, nurses, librarians, they have the same certifications as these professional educators. There are teachers that have their superintendent certification, have their, they have all, but there's only so many positions. And that's why I say the supply and demand. There's only a limited number of professional educator positions. And I support whatever the vote of the board is. I don't have a problem with the 3%. It's just that it was such a vast disparity between a possible 2,900 and 1,500 that, I'm thinking, maybe this should, we have limited money. Maybe we should, not be so far off in the range.
Mr. LaFoyle.
I agree with Mr. Flores on this. I cannot support it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Where, on the amendment, right?
No,
You
can
wanted to say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Dare, I think you hit a lot of key quality points, but there is a difference, and Mr. Salinas mentioned between 187 and 226 days. You were exactly right. Teaching teachers make a difference in the classroom every day with the kids that they're dealing with. However, administrators are the ones that hire good, competent, quality teachers on their campus. And you asked a second question about hiring, and administrators. There are plenty of administrators, teachers, and stuff that hold certification, but concern of quantity versus quality. That is a very good concern at this time, a big concern of ours, because if you look at the accountability that we have now in front of us, it's a big demand of quality leaders in this district and every district in the state of Texas at this time. There is. So we'll have to be very competitive in finding quality leaders. And it's the key. And without a quality leader, you don't get the quality teachers. The staff development, the hiring process, all the things that are needed in order to lead a school. Yes, that's an effective leadership. Makes a good, big difference in a public school. And that's what produces results. It's not just one, it's all together. Good teachers, good leaders, good staff makes that difference on that campus.
So, Dr. Mackey, you think that in order to get those people that you're referring to, you think that you need to raise all of these professional educator salary levels by 3%? Because we're not just talking about a raise, we're talking about raising the minimum, mid, and max on a permanent basis.
Yes, because that gives the superintendent discretion. If there's a quality person out there, then I can go up from the midpoint to the maximum in hiring a quality leader with a proven leader. However, when we get inexperienced people, we're there at the bottom end, below the midpoint. But when we have a high-quality person, then I have the flexibility of moving up and trying to get that person.
Okay, then I withdraw my motion. No, it's not a motion, but he's asking, we're discussing. Can we waive the rules, Mr. President, for discussion with the superintendent? I wouldn't support an additional policeman at this time, Dr. Mackey. I would support, if you would put some of the hall monitors back that we took away, with the last budget freeze. You put them back?
The high schools have 2 hall monitors each, and the middle schools have 1 hall monitor. We are currently contracting a police officer to provide additional support at Judson High School, and it would be more cost-effective for us to make it an employee because of the amount we have to pay for contract service. We're paying him his price, whereas if we hired an employee, it would be our price.
So when we entered into this contract for this police officer, maybe I missed that, what was the rationale behind it? Where was the shortage schedule? I don't remember that.
What's that?
Sir,
Because the
it was
overcrowdedness
requested by the
over there,
board.
and it's the overcrowdedness, the kids' safety over there. You have 2 policemen. When there's an incident, you have 2 policemen dealing with a kid or some kids, and then they going inside and writing the report, and all of a sudden you leaving that building vulnerable for any other incidents inside and out, and you got people coming off and on.
So it's
With
just
the-
for a backup while the other officers are taking care of
That,
something?
no, it's not just a backup. It is a very, because we have the 8 portable classrooms outside, we have the 2 portable classrooms on the front side, then you have all these kids that's overcrowded in this building. We need to be monitoring inside and outside of that building. There needs to be plenty of patrolling in that facility.
What is the salary you're requesting?
Between, what was the salary, Miss?
$35,000 and $5,000 in benefits, so up to
Benefits.
$40,000 for a full-time officer.
Is that comparable with what?
Yes. Yes, we can hire
we're
some.
currently paying?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
June, the other thing too is I kind of talked to the chief about this. We have 2 officers over there, and I'm not going to guess, but we had at least one of the 2 officers out on injured leave for Ms. Howard. I don't want to guess. It was weeks. It was weeks where one was out injured and was by themselves for weeks because one would get injured, the other one would get injured, and I don't want to say how many weeks, but it was a lot of weeks, wasn't it? So that's no. What?
They never hired, I think
They
you
ne-
said they were looking into it, right?
Yeah, they found Ms. Howard. They had contract.
Sir?
At the end of the year, when we start having some trauma happening, more incidents and more patrolling classrooms, yes, I put some out there for safety reasons. Yes, but we did not go to $50,000.
Kind of.
We know, you said between 35 and 40, right? With benefits.
Food for thought, kind of my logic on this was hire 1 officer this year, 1 officer next year, and the 3rd officer in the 3rd year, simply because we're going to open a new high school, and we only have 2 grades there, so we only need 1 officer. So you see what I'm saying? So as we go, we grow like an officer a year. I mean, we don't need 2 officers at the new high school. We need 1 officer at the new high school. So we need to put them on. You see what I'm saying? So one officer a year for the next 3-4 years.
I can support with But, I want us to remember we've done a lot of talking tonight. I know everybody thought we were just coming in and
Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, you want to signify by saying aye? Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion, amendment carries. Okay, now we can go to the budget. Okay. The budget for the, as amendment, as amended, the 2013-2014 budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. Now we gotta finish we gotta amend and this is where I had the questions. No. Is it Jetta or is it Jonathan? Is it Jetta or J.A.? I think so. Well, I'll tell them. Is that right? Simon D. Foundation. It's J. Okay, there's two of them. There's two of them. No, it's the same thing. Yeah. No. One's expenditure and one is revenue.
Correct, right. And what happened, this is the money
Go ahead, sir.
this is the money that they gave us because when there was a flood over there, a flood at the Judson Learning Academy, it's some money that the Simon Hughes Foundation gave us to replace the computers that got damaged when it flooded.
Okay, B, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of budget amendments to the budget for the 2012-2013 fiscal year. Thank you for that correction. We have a motion and second by Mr. Lavoie. And it's been corrected. If you look on page 17, instead of JECE, it's supposed to be JLA. Do you copy? Okay, I believe that was the only question that I had. Okay, no discussion on all those in favor of amending the 2012-2013 budget. Signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Now, before you leave, we need to get a date. We have to do Dr. Mackey's evaluation from 2012-2013 and the goals for 2013-2014. So, any dates in July? If you look at your calendar, please. I didn't bring mine. Okay, Mondays is bad in July. Oh, and I think we have to do it before July the 12th. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, Ms. Adair, Mr. LaFoyle, Tuesday. Oh, wait a minute. What do we have the 9th? I got something on the 9th. Never mind. It's a doctor's appointment in the morning. Okay, Tuesday about 6 o'clock. The 9th, July 9th.
Send me an email.
Oh, okay. Mr. Macias? Fine with me, fine with Beth, you said? And you, sir? And you, sir? Okay. Maggie? I'm sorry. Jackie? Yes. And we'll have to contact the... No. To finish the 2012-2013 evaluation and do the 2013-2014. Yes, sir.
Last year, we didn't do the midterm, this is the mid-evaluation process because of the report on it. We talked about this before, that the evaluation, the goals that we want to set are for what?
2013, 2014. Oh, okay. I have no problem. Okay, we settled that for the 9th, right? Okay.
Stop that.